They don't tell you the price until you're already at the table, do they? They just whisper about glory, success, destiny, but they never hand you the bill up front. And when it comes, oh, it's heavier than you thought. Because this path you're standing on, chosen one, isn't paved with gold. It's paved with pieces of you. Your comfort, your safety, your sleep, your peace, maybe even the people you love. You think you can walk through fire and not smell like smoke. You think you can hold greatness without it burning your hands. This isn't a game of what you're willing to win. It's a game of what you're willing to lose. And the question isn't, do you want it? The question is, can you afford the cost? Every choice demands a sacrifice, whether you admit it or not. That's the part nobody likes to hear, isn't it? Everyone wants the shining reward, the sweet taste of victory, the applause at the end of the show. But when the curtain rises, there's always a bill to pay. And that bill, my friend, is never written in ink. It's written in flesh, in time, in sanity. You see, life is like a crooked dealer at a rigged table. It'll hand you a card that looks golden, but the second you hold it tight, you realize something has slipped out of your pocket. Maybe it's your peace of mind, maybe your sleep, maybe someone you thought would always stand beside you. Every step forward, something gets left behind, even if you pretend you didn't notice. And isn't it funny how people try to avoid it? They build their little safety nets, whispering to themselves, I can have it all. I can hold everything. I can win without bleeding. But that's the cruelest joke of them all. The bigger the dream, the sharper the blade it carries. The louder the applause, the deeper the silence that follows when everyone's gone home. Do you know why? Because the universe never hands out freebies. It collects its price in shadows, in nights where you stare at the ceiling, wondering if the victory was worth the wreckage. Take a look at the greats, the legends everyone worships. What do you see? Crowns, wealth, power, respect. But look closer. Don't just stare at the jewels. Stare at the cracks on their skin. They've paid for every inch of their glory with something they'll never get back. Families broken, friendships dissolved, hearts hardened into stone. The world loves a winner, but it never asks what that winner had to bury to get there. And maybe that's the most twisted part. The crowd only cheers for the shine, never for the scars. So here's the choice you've been avoiding. What are you willing to give up? Don't fool yourself with sweet lies. Every path has a toll booth waiting. You want strength. You'll lose comfort. You want truth. You'll lose the cozy lies you wrapped yourself in. You want freedom. You'll lose the chains that made you feel safe. And oh, the irony. Most people are terrified of paying the toll. So they sit in line forever, staring at the gate, never crossing, never moving. They think they're saving themselves, when really, they're just rotting in their own delay. But maybe you've felt it already. That creeping itch inside. The quiet whisper telling you the easy road is a trap. You've watched others walk around, clinging to their illusions, pretending they can dodge the cost. And deep down, you know they're doomed. Because sooner or later, the sacrifice comes to collect, whether you've chosen it or not. It doesn't knock politely. It kicks the door in, grabs what it wants, and leaves you trembling in the dark. The secret: you can't escape the sacrifice, but you can choose it. That's the only power you'll ever truly have. Do you surrender something small now, or watch something larger be ripped from your hands later? Do you burn your nights chasing the vision, or wait until your life burns itself out with regret? The scales are always moving, the price always waiting. Every choice, every step, every breath, something slips away. Something dies so something else can live. You've been lied to. If you think sacrifice is a punishment, it's not. It's the hidden doorway. The blood in the soil that makes the seed grow. The silence between the notes that makes the music alive. Without sacrifice, nothing worth having ever survives. But don't be fooled. It's not pretty. It's not clean. It's ugly. It's raw. It's brutal. And the sooner you stop hiding from it, the sooner you realize that the only real freedom you'll ever taste is found in the very thing you've been running from. People walk around clutching their little comforts as if they'll last forever. They hold on to routine, money, reputation, approval, like children clutching toys, afraid someone might snatch them away. But here's the reality no one wants to say out loud. Every single thing you're holding can be taken in a moment. A breath, a twist of fate, and it's gone. That car you polish every weekend, the house you lock up tight, the people you swear will never leave. They can all vanish before you can even blink. And then what? You're left standing in the rubble, realizing that all the things you built your identity around were nothing but paper walls. Most people can't handle that thought, so they pretend it isn't true. They wrap themselves in illusions, jobs that make them feel important, relationships that cover their insecurities, habits that numb the noise inside their head. They tell themselves they're safe, but deep down they know it's a fragile lie. One unexpected crack, and the whole thing comes tumbling down. That's why they hate silence, why they run from stillness. Because in those moments, the truth gets loud, and they realize they've built their lives on sand. Losing isn't always the tragedy people make it out to be. Sometimes it's the only way to see what's real. When everything is stripped away, when the masks are torn off and the props are burned to ash, you're left with the raw, bare core of who you are. And that's terrifying for most, because they've spent their whole lives avoiding themselves. But for the few who can stand in that naked truth, loss becomes a gift. Because suddenly, you see what actually matters, what can't be bought, stolen, or destroyed. And isn't it interesting how people only wake up when the ground caves beneath them? They beg for clarity, for strength, for miracles. But only after everything else is gone. They never ask for wisdom when they're comfortable. They never search for depth when the lights are still on. No, they wait until the darkness smothers them, and only then do they finally open their eyes. That's the cruel little trick life plays. It doesn't give you truth when you're smiling. It gives it to you when you're screaming. The collapse is not your enemy. It's the uninvited guest that rips away your illusions. And yes, it hurts. It always hurts. But in the wreckage, you discover the foundations that were always hidden beneath. You learn who stands by you when there's nothing left to gain. You learn what your mind does when there's no escape hatch. You learn whether your faith, your courage, your fire was real or just another mask you wore to blend in. People like to talk about strength as if it comes from lifting weights or giving speeches. But true strength isn't built when you're winning. It's revealed when you've lost. When the money dries up, when the people leave, when the applause fades. That's when you find out whether you've been feeding on illusions or building something that can't be burned down. The storm doesn't create the strength. It shows it. So maybe what you thought was a disaster is actually a door. Maybe the loss you dread is the very thing trying to free you. Because when you've lost everything, nothing owns you anymore. You can't be blackmailed by fear. You can't be chained by comfort. You can't be bribed by shiny distractions. You've already paid the price. And from that place, you're untouchable. The world can throw its worst, and you'll keep standing. Because you've seen what it feels like to have nothing, and survived it. Most people will never know that kind of freedom. They'll stay chained to their fragile little lives, protecting their sandcastles, praying the tide won't come in. But the tide always comes. The question is, will you run screaming as it washes everything away? Or will you laugh in the face of it? Knowing that you were never just the castle, you were the ocean all along. People like to think the world is fair, that if they play by the rules and keep their head down, they'll be spared from the chaos. They whisper little lies to themselves: work hard, stay good, and you'll be rewarded. But reality doesn't bend to their bedtime stories. Reality is brutal, unpredictable, and merciless. It doesn't care if you're honest or crooked, rich or poor, kind or cruel. It doesn't stop to weigh your efforts or measure your morality. It sweeps through like a storm. And the only thing that decides who survives isn't luck or justice. It's whether you were ready when it came. Most people never prepare. They convince themselves tomorrow will look like today. That comfort will stretch on forever. They stockpile distractions instead of strength, illusions instead of wisdom. They laugh at warnings, dismiss the signs, cover their ears when the alarms are screaming. And then, when the collapse comes, they act shocked, as if the cracks hadn't been showing all along, as if the decay wasn't spreading in plain sight. The truth is, they chose blindness because it was easier than facing the cost of awareness. The chosen one, though, doesn't get the luxury of blindness. The chosen one sees too much, feels too deeply, notices the tremors before the earthquake, and with that awareness comes a heavy burden, because once you see, you can't unsee. You can't go back to sleep while everyone else snores peacefully in their ignorance. You stand alone in a room full of dreamers, screaming about the fire while they roll over and beg you to be quiet. That's the curse of vision. You carry clarity in a world that worships denial. And what happens when you speak the truth in a world addicted to lies? They turn on you. They call you crazy, paranoid, dramatic. They laugh at you because it's easier than listening. But deep down, some part of them knows you're right. They feel the cracks beneath their feet, the tremors in their bones. They sense the storm creeping closer, but fear makes them cling tighter to the illusion. They'd rather destroy the messenger than face the message. That's why the chosen one always feels like an outcast, because truth is a mirror, and most people can't stand to look at themselves. But here's the thing about reality. It doesn't need their permission. It doesn't matter how tightly they shut their eyes, how loudly they scream their lies. When the wave comes, it doesn't knock politely. It smashes through, and suddenly the deniers are drowning in the very flood they mocked. And in that moment, they'll remember the voice they laughed at, the warnings they ignored. But by then it's too late. Preparation can't be borrowed. Strength can't be stolen. You either built it in the silence before the storm, or you're washed away when it hits. That's why the chosen one walks a different path. Not because it's glamorous, not because it's easy, but because it's the only way. While the crowd feasts on comfort, the chosen one trains in hunger. While others sleep, the chosen one sharpens their mind. While the world clings to illusions, the chosen one gathers truth like weapons. And yes, it's lonely. Yes, it feels unfair. But when the collapse finally arrives, the one who endured the burden of awareness will be the only one still standing. Because survival isn't an accident. It's a decision made long before the danger shows its teeth. Most people don't realize the weight of this. They think the chosen path is about glory, about standing above others in triumph. But it's not. It's about responsibility. It's about carrying a torch through darkness, even when no one follows, even when they curse your light. It's about choosing pain now, so that you're not destroyed later. It's about sacrificing comfort for clarity, denial for discipline, sleep for strength. And those sacrifices are invisible until the day they're everything. The collapse isn't coming. It's already here, inching closer every second, cracking the foundations everyone else swears are solid. You feel it, don't you? That tension under the surface, that heaviness in the air. Most people will keep pretending until the walls fall in on them. But not you. Not if you've been chosen. Not if you've seen what others refuse to see. Because when the walls crumble, the world won't need more dreamers. It will need those who were awake all along. People don't like to admit how fragile peace really is. They wear it like armor, strutting around as if nothing can touch them, as if the quiet moments they enjoy are permanent. They convince themselves that stability is natural, that calm is their birthright, that the silence of the world means safety. But peace isn't a gift, it's a lie. It's borrowed time, rented space, a trick the world plays on those who need to believe they're untouchable. And the cruelest part, the closer you crawl toward power, the thinner that armor becomes. The moment you step into the circle, where stakes are higher, your peace is the first thing to shatter. You see, power doesn't protect peace. It devours it. The higher you climb, the more hands reach for you, the more eyes study your every move, the more shadows wait for your stumble. You thought gaining control would make you untouchable. No, it paints a target on your back. You thought success would bring you comfort. No, it sharpens every knife that was already pointed at you. The truth no one tells you is this: the closer you get to power, the more you will bleed for it. The air gets thinner up there, and so does your margin for error. People love to chase power because from the outside it looks glorious. The spotlight shines, the applause echoes, the world pretends to admire. But they don't see what it does to your mind when you can't trust a smile, when you know every handshake hides a blade, when every compliment is just another way of calculating how close they can get before they strike. Peace. It doesn't live there. It can't. Power kills peace the moment you taste it, and you either accept that bargain or you fall apart under the pressure of pretending it's still yours. That's why so many break. They chase power thinking it will fill the emptiness, thinking it will quiet the noise inside their heads. But when they get it, the emptiness grows louder. The noise becomes unbearable. They find out the throne isn't cushioned, it's spiked. They can't sleep, can't rest, can't trust. And slowly they unravel. And yet, this is what makes the path so dangerous and so addictive. Because once you've touched power, even as it shreds your peace, you can't let it go. It becomes your curse, your obsession, your cage. The chosen one doesn't chase power for comfort. No, the chosen one understands it's never about comfort. It's about carrying a weight that others can't even lift. It's about standing steady when every force around you is trying to pull you apart. It's about knowing that the moment you step closer to power, you're stepping further from peace. That's the trade, and it's not negotiable. Those who deny it get eaten alive. Those who accept it, they survive. But survival is never peaceful. Think about it. The crowd worships peace because they've never tasted the fire of ambition. They believe peace is real because they've never been close enough to power to watch it vanish. But you're not like them. You can feel the pull, can't you? You can sense that something bigger is calling, something that demands sacrifice. And if you answer it, if you step into that circle, you'll lose the quiet life you once knew. No more pretending, no more illusions. Just the cold reality that every step higher costs you a piece of yourself. And still, the chosen one moves forward. Not because they enjoy losing their peace, but because they've accepted that peace is temporary anyway. Everyone loses it eventually, through chaos, through betrayal, through time itself. The difference is that the chosen one trades it willingly, sacrifices it for something greater. What's something that endures beyond the fragile comfort everyone else clings to? They understand that peace is the first currency demanded by destiny. And once you've paid it, there's no refund. You might think this sounds unfair. Maybe it is. But fairness doesn't matter here. What matters is that the path ahead doesn't allow both power and peace to coexist. You will never have both. You can either live quiet and forgettable, or you can step closer to the fire and let it burn away the illusion of peace. That's the price. And the question isn't whether you want it. The question is whether you can carry it without breaking. People talk about success like it's clean, like it's polished, like it comes wrapped in a shiny little box you can display on a shelf. They love the idea of achievement, of recognition, of standing taller than everyone else. But what they don't love are the scars that come with it. They hide that part, whisper about it in shadows, because the truth would scare too many people away. Every story of triumph is stitched together with wounds, and every victory comes with invisible bruises that nobody applauds. The crowd loves the result, but has no stomach for the process, no patience for the suffering that carved it. Scars are the receipts of success. You don't get them for free. You earn them every time you push yourself past the breaking point, every time you sacrifice sleep, comfort, and sanity for something bigger. People think they want success until they realize how much blood it demands. Not metaphorical blood, real sacrifices, real cuts into your life. Nights where your body begs you to stop. Days where your mind turns against you. Moments where you wonder if the pain is even worth it. But if you make it, if you endure, those scars become the only proof you ever lived fully. The problem is, most people want the applause without the scars. They want the smile without the teeth, the story without the suffering. That's why they'll never get it. Because success is never polite. It's brutal, it's cruel, it demands everything. It drags you through the mud, tears the skin off your back, and still asks for more. And if you think you can escape unmarked, you're already lying to yourself. Every step toward greatness will take a piece of you. It might not always show on the outside, but the inside. That's where the deepest wounds hide. Think about the ones who seem untouchable, the ones who stand tall on their mountains. Do you really think they got there without breaking, without bleeding? No. They just learned how to wear their scars like armor. They learned how to smile with broken teeth, how to keep walking on shattered legs, how to look unshaken even when every night they drowned in doubt. That's the part nobody claps for. The silent battles, the hidden bruises, the invisible wars fought in the dark. And still, the scars aren't just pain. They're proof. Proof that you didn't quit when everyone else did. Proof that you carried on when your body and mind screamed at you to stop. Proof that you belonged in places others only dreamed of. That's why the scars are beautiful in their own twisted way, because they tell the story no one else could understand. The story of what it really took to stand where you stand. Without them, your success would just be luck, hollow and meaningless. With them, it's undeniable. But here's the catch. Scars don't fade. They stay with you, reminders of the cost you paid. And sometimes, in the quiet moments, they ache. Sometimes you wish you could go back, live a simpler life, keep your body and soul intact. But you can't, because you chose the path where comfort dies and ambition thrives. And once you've chosen it, there's no turning back. You carry the scars forever, and they shape you into something different, something harder, something stronger. Most people will never understand that trade. They'll look at your success and envy it, but they'll never envy the wounds it took to get there. They'll never know the nights you spent alone, bleeding inside, holding on to nothing but a fragile thread of belief. They'll never feel the weight of what it took to claw your way forward. But you'll know, and maybe that's the real prize. Not the applause, not the recognition, but the knowledge that you paid the price and didn't break. Success will always demand scars. That's the part no one tells you when you start. They only show you the highlight reel, the victory speech, the smiling face at the finish line. But the real story is written in the pain behind the eyes. The bones that never healed quite right, the heart that still carries cracks from battles fought alone. And that's the truth you can't escape. If you want to win, you have to bleed. If you want to stand tall, you have to crawl first. If you want to hold success in your hands, you have to accept that those hands will never be unmarked again. People fantasize about success as if it's a prize you stumble upon, a treasure chest waiting for whoever's lucky enough to find it. They convince themselves that timing or luck or connections are what decide it all, because that excuse makes it easier to stay comfortable. But the truth is far sharper, far colder. Success belongs only to those who were prepared before the storm arrived. It doesn't matter how talented you are, how smart you are, or how much potential you have. If you weren't ready when the moment came, you lost. And there's no second chance. Preparation is the most boring, most painful, most thankless part of the journey, and that's why almost no one does it. It doesn't give you applause. It doesn't make you look good. It doesn't give you instant results. It's just endless repetition, endless patience, endless grinding in silence, while everyone else is laughing, resting, wasting their time. That's why